Hi, I'm JB Redknapp and you're watching Football Stats Online.
1, 2, 3.
Hola, mi nombre es Edward y su nombre es Mark y bienvenidos de nuevo a Football Stats Online. Yes, that will be the language Rodri will be speaking when he lands into this this country, which is Spanish. And for all those non-Spanish speaking fellas out there,
like you,
yeah, whatever. As Google Translate taught me, my name is Edward, his name is Mark, and welcome to Football Stats Online. As you gathered, today we are talking about Fabinho versus Rodri ahead of the Charity Shield, or
Community
as
Shield.
we still call it now, Community Shield. Yeah, thanks Mark for the correction.
I know something just as help.
For the Community Shield match up and coming this Sunday, tomorrow, August the 4th. So I just want to talk about the stats between the new guy from that Man City have signed now, Rodri or Rodrigo, and Liverpool's Fabinho. We'll be looking at the stats from last year. We'll be looking at Fabinho's last year's stats in the Premier League, and we'll be looking at Rodri's stats last year in the La Liga for Atletico Madrid. So without further ado, let's get this show on the road. So Mark, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the format of verses, but essentially what we do is we break down each versus in terms of the two players, in terms of defensive contribution, attacking contribution, and midfield contribution. Depending on where the player plays, we attribute more of the weighting towards that position. So a player may win attacking and midfield contribution. In this case, if they're a defender, they would still get more weight into the defensive contribution. So if they win defense and the other player wins midfield and attack, if they win defense by a lot, you get the point, they will win the overall versus battle. So in this case, we're gonna go from attacking, defense, and then we'll finish on midfield. Both these players play in the DM role, defensive midfielder role. So in this case, we're gonna start with the attacking contribution. So Mark, before we actually go and break down the statistics, what do you think of the two players? Who do you think is better from your general football knowledge before we actually go into the statistics?
Okay, well, if you had asked me this question 2 years ago, or not even 2 years ago actually, just about, let's say 18 months ago, when Fabinho was at Monaco, you know, I definitely would have said Fabinho. You know, when Fabinho was at Monaco, he looked very dynamic, very athletic. I think he played right back sometimes for Monaco. He almost seemed more like a box-to-box type player. And then when and obviously Rodri was at Villarreal at this time, you know, still playing working his way up, learning his trade. So definitely I would have said back then it would have been Fabinho. But in saying that, Rodri has taken a massive leap in his last year at Atletico Madrid. He's really, you know, we can see he played 34 games this year, so he's really been someone the team could rely on. Both of them are similar stature. Rodri's 6'3", Fabinho's 6'2", so there's not too much in it there. But since Fabinho has come to Liverpool, he's played in almost like a playmaker. He doesn't look as dynamic as he did in Monaco.
Yeah. And
I mean, we'll see how Rodri does in the end when he starts playing, in Man City. But Rodri just looks like the perfect defensive midfielder for Pep. You know, 6'3", great on the ball. You know, if he can just listen to Pep and just do basically what he says, he'll be the next Busquets. He looks like it's made for him.
High praise.
It looks like it's made for him. So I mean, right now, I think in terms of potential, who has the biggest ceiling, I think it's Rodri. I think he can really go far. I think what we've seen of Fabinho, I think he can get a little bit better in terms of improving and getting used to the Premier League, but I don't see him getting so much better. Where Rodri, I feel like the sky's the limit.
Now that was actually some good in-depth analysis there, Mark. We'll see if your gut and your feelings in terms of Rodri having the higher ceiling is what the stats show over the last season, especially in terms of last year. So let's look into the statistics. So we're going to go into attacking contribution first. As you said, Mark, both similar players, both similar in terms of height, also both similar in terms of the numbers of games they've played. Fabinho's played 28 games, Rodri's played 34 games. Successful dribbles, Fabinho had 10, Rodri had 19. Total shots, Fabinho had 17, Rodri had more with 27. And when it comes to goals, Rodri had 2, and Fabinho had 1. So as you can see there, Rodri wins overall. However, as we like to do on Football Stats Online, we always look at the averages. So in this case, Fabinho has played less games. And when we look at the averages, well, in this case, the statistics remain the same. You know, successful dribbles still go with Rodri. Total shots is still with Rodri. However, goals stays the same at 0.04 for both players. So for round 1, Mark, I would say Rodri wins this in terms of attacking contribution. So what's your thoughts on the attacking contribution so far, Mark?
I suppose it's not really that big of a surprise because Fabinho didn't necessarily have his best year last year, and that kind of coincides with Rodri having his best ever season as a professional last year, which has led to the move to Man City. So it's not that much of a surprise, I suppose. I mean, I think we'll see more over the next couple of years who, you know, really contributes, but ultimately they are defensive midfielders, so we don't expect too much offensive contribution in any case.
Definitely. And moving from attacking to defense, we're going to look at defensive contribution now. So when we look at the defensive contribution, we can see that tackles won, Rodri has made way more tackles, 103 versus Fabinho's 59. Way more interceptions, 41 to Fabinho's 28. And way more aerial battles, from 78 for Rodri compared to Fabinho's 56. Again, we need to look at the averages, and it's the same story here in terms of the averages. Rodri has made more tackles per game at 3.03 compared to Fabinho. More interceptions per game, slightly more at 1.21 to Fabinho's 1. And has actually way more aerial battles won. I know you mentioned that they had similar height statures in terms of 6'3 and 6'2, but he has way more aerial battles won at 2.29 compared to Fabinho's, whose aerial battles is 0.47, suggesting he's not really good in the air. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think we got to take that with a pinch of salt. Like I said, they're not playing in the same league yet. But I mean, we don't have the statistics for them being in the same league yet.
Of course.
And you know, the defenders in the Premier League, you know, are notoriously very good in the air. The strikers are notoriously very good in the air. That defensive midfield position we're talking about, if you see the way those huge strikers, for example, in Burnley, you know, Fabinho is not going to want to have any sort of battle with Chris Wood in the air. So I can see why it started. I can see why Rodri edges it. Premier League is way more physical, especially these aerial duels. So we'll see how he does when he comes over. But that doesn't surprise me too much.
There's another factor, and this is just me spitballing here. I'm not sure if this is true or not, but would you say that, I'm guessing the average height is a lot higher in the Premier League as opposed to La Liga, and with Rodri being 6'3", he probably has more of an advantage in La Liga as opposed to the Premier League. That
is what I would assume, but at the same time, I don't even think it's a matter of height. I just think it's a matter of play style.
Yeah.
And in Spain, they keep the ball more on the floor anyway, where in England, they do play more long balls. A lot of the teams in the bottom half will play long ball anyway. So,
but then doesn't that counteract what you're saying? Because aerial battles won. If they're keeping it on the floor, he wouldn't be winning. Yeah,
but what I'm saying is perhaps it's well, it depends how you look at it, because you're right, that does kind of counteract what I'm saying. But at the same time, in Spain, if you're playing a long ball game, teams don't really play a long ball game.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're playing a long ball, the other teams may not be ready to win it. Where in this country, if you're playing a lot of long balls, the tactic is to win it.
Okay.
So the balls that maybe Rodri's winning are not balls that are meant to be played long.
Yeah.
It might be because he's pressed them. His forwards are pressing the defenders and they're clearing it, and they're not being able to really like put in quality balls into the forwards where they can play proper percentages. So he's just mopping up easy headers. But this is the thing. We don't know every single incident in this case. But,
of course.
You know, you can assume certain things.
Cool. So next one will be the most decisive area, the midfield. So Rodri has won 2 rounds so far, but if Fabinho wins this round and wins it convincingly, then we could crown him the better player. So let's see what the stats say about the midfield. So when we look at the midfield, we can see Rodri has made more successful passes, has made slightly more key passes at 17 compared to Fabinho's 16. However, Fabinho has made more assists at 2 compared to Rodri's 1, and gets dispossessed less, way more less than Rodri at 16 compared to Rodri at 29. And when we look at the averages, we can see that successful passes actually now shifts to Fabinho at 58 successful passes made per game compared to Rodri's 57. And key passes is 0.57 and shifts to Fabinho's favor compared to Rodri. And assist is higher on Fabinho's side, as well as the dispossessed stat at 0.57 compared to Rodri getting dispossessed at 0.85 times per game. So I would say in the midfield battle here, Fabinho wins this round. Now, does that surprise you? I know you were saying that Rodri is the better player last year. Obviously, these are a limited amount of stats that we've taken.
Yep.
But in terms of the stats that we had, does that surprise you?
So we can see that there's not too much difference between them in terms of, for example, successful passes and key passes. A lot of the stats are very, very evenly matched. And I have to be honest, I'm quite surprised at how similar statistically they are as players. But I think that bodes well for Rodri, because this is the comparing Fabinho in the Premier League. So if Rodri can, do similar stats, then I think he's in a good shape to do well in the Premier League. And physically he has everything, everything he needs, the same as Fabinho. So we shall see.
One thing I was quite surprised is that Fabinho gets dispossessed less than Rodri gets dispossessed more. Does that surprise you? Because
that was a stat that was there's quite a big
big gap.
But that's surprising. I don't know. I'm not really too sure what that says. I mean,
Pep Guardiola is not going to be happy.
No, but it's
Rodri getting dispossessed and then leading. You know how the Premier League is.
Yeah, no, Pep doesn't want that player to do dribbling and all that kind of thing. Play simple.
Yeah, of course.
So I think that will definitely be beaten out of him by Pep. No, I don't know. I don't know if it surprises me. I don't really know what that stat says. I have to be honest. I really don't know what that stat says. I don't know what it says maybe about Atletico Madrid's play style. In terms of Liverpool do more the pressing, I guess, in the Premier League.
But for me, it's the stats about the player getting dispossessed. So in this case, for me, it's the player not being able to hold on to the ball. That is surprising that, like you said, Spain do keep the ball on the floor. And it might be that, like you say, Pep has to beat it out of him, because when he comes to the Premier League, you're not going to get as much time on the ball as maybe you might get in the La Liga. So that's my personal point of view.
That's true. I agree with that. He's not going to get enough time. So yeah, he definitely is going to have to move the ball quicker, and especially in that position, he's going to be really pressed hard. So yeah.
Do you think Rodri is going to take Fernandinho's place in terms of that DM role? Or is it going to be more of a phasing him in?
Oh, definitely phasing him in. Phasing him in. Even though Rodri's 23, 24, he's not like a kid. He definitely phasing him, because you can see Pep Guardiola loves Fernandinho. Yeah. You can definitely see that. It's also, it depends as well if Manchester City buy a centre half as well, because Guardiola has mentioned that Fernandinho could play centre back. So it might be that Fabinho might have to play centre back in a couple of games, and Rodri will have to play. But I think it will be a case of phasing on him and make sure he tactically understands what Pep wants. Definitely can't get dispossessed. Play simple. Don't try dribbling. None of that stuff. Just play simple, and then I think he will be a big hit by Christmas. I think he would have settled. So
we've done defensive contribution. We've done midfield contribution, and we've done attacking contribution. Rodri won attacking and defensive contribution, while Fabinho won midfield contribution. So I usually judge who's the better player, but this time I'll give it to you. Who do you think is the better player in terms of the stats we've seen and the potential in the Premier League? No, actually, just the stats we've seen.
Okay, so I came in thinking that Rodri is an excellent player. And he was a better player for me, and I think the stats haven't really changed my mind there. He's a better player. I think he has a way more potential. I do still think Fabinho is an excellent player. I think he will get better for Liverpool. I think hopefully we'll see him be a bit more dynamic in the work he does, even though he's playing deeper. But for me, it has to be Rodri. He's the perfect signing for Pep Guardiola. And I can understand why they just paid the 65 million, no haggling. They just got him because he's the perfect signing for them.
Well, it doesn't matter what we think. What do you guys think? Do you think, based on those stats, Rodri is better than Fabinho? Hopefully we do get to see him play in the Community Shield tomorrow. But yeah, we'd love to hear comments. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. If you're a Liverpool fan or a Man City fan or just a fan of the game, please do comment below and let us know what your thoughts are. Appreciate your time, Mark, on this again. Appreciate your first episode here on Versus Football Stats Online. There will be more. As the Premier League starts, we're going to be doing a lot more versus taking key players and analysing them both. Hopefully adding more stats. Yes, that's one thing as well. Any stats you guys want to see, please do let us know and we'll be sure to add it to the Versus episode. So thank you very much for watching. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Hit the bell notification. Thank you and peace to you.